Ladies and gentlemen, it's playoff time. We got 14 teams ready to battle it out for the chance at a Super Bowl with 17 AFC teams, 7 NFC teams, and y'all know how it be. Man, it's going to get crazy. Who y'all got? Who's your money on? For me, I'm honestly rooting for the Ravens. I've liked them for a while now, and I just really want to see Lamar Jackson hoist that Lombardi. It'd be so cool. He's my favorite quarterback in the league, and I just think he deserves it. Like, all these guys on the Ravens roster deserve a ring. Like, they're just a bunch of ballers, man. Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, who they say from the Bears, Justin Matabike broke out this season. Jadeveon Clowney found his home here on the Ravens. That dude had his best season yet. Then, of course, you got OGs kind of like Michael Pierce, Marlon Humphrey, a bunch of guys, dude. All them Ravens deserve rings. I'm rooting for the Ravens. They're my number one team for the playoffs, for sure. There are a few teams, though, that I wouldn't mind seeing win the Super Bowl, like the Dolphins. I actually kind of like the Dolphins, even though they dropped 70 points on the Broncos. They're still kind of cool, I guess. I wouldn't mind seeing them win. They are kind of injured, though, right now with a lot of guys being out. So hopefully they could still go in there and beat the Chiefs at in the first matchup. But I don't know how possible that'll be. The Chiefs kind of feel like they're still loaded a bit. So the Dolphins have a tall task in front of them. They just lost Bradley Chubb as well, who's having a hell of a season. So that sucks going right into the playoffs with that injury. And plus all the other guys. I hope the Dolphins could do something, man. I really do. I'd like to see the Packers go far as well, but they got to get through the Cowboys first, which that's got to be a hard thing to do. The Cowboys are actually pretty good this year, so the Packers are going to have their work put in for them that game. They're going to have to put in work, definitely. Because, man, they got to do a lot to win, but it doesn't matter if they don't win, because them in the playoffs is just crazy alone. Like, they're one of the youngest teams making it to the playoffs, led by first-year QB Jordan Love, who got to sit by Aaron Rodgers, of course, for a few years, but this is his first year starting, and he just looks like the guy. Packers found the guy. That's really all that matters for them. So just being in the playoffs, I'm sure they're happy. If they beat the Cowboys, that's going to be crazy. All kinds of Cowboys fans are going to be like flipping out, man. They're going to be losing their minds. And I'm sure Cowboys will get a lot of crap if the Packers beat them. So, yeah, I'm rooting for the Packers, though, definitely. I'm excited to see what they're going to do against the Cowboys and then next year what they could do to build onto this roster. I think the Packers are a lot more interesting with Jordan Love at QB than they are with Aaron Rodgers. Just because, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Aaron Rodgers, you knew he was going to choke in the playoffs. No, I'm just kidding. But I do really like the Packers with Jordan Love starting. I really like him at QB. The Lions are another team I wouldn't mind seeing in the Super Bowl. They're a good team, and they seem to be like the fan favorite right now. The rookies have just been going off. It sucks Sam Laporta got hurt, but man, all the rookies, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, hit after hit after hit. The Lions have just been going off. It's great to see. Glad they're in the playoffs, and I'm glad they're kind of like the fan favorite. At least that feels like they are, you know what I mean? Especially after the refs screwed them over. I feel like that got even more people to the Lions' side. The Lions did kind of deceive themselves and the refs in that play, though. So I don't know. There's been breakdown on that play, breakdowns by everybody. Everyone's been breaking down that play. So go watch those if you haven't. I don't know. Faults on both sides. Still love the Lions. Still rooting for them. Doesn't change the fact that they're a crazy team and that they could definitely win the Super Bowl this year for the first time. I feel like no one thinks the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Like, I have not seen as much hype as there was last year for them. They have definitely dropped some easy games that they have should have won. Like, the losses against the Jags, the Patriots, and the Broncos were all bad. I appreciate the Bills for the loss against the Broncos. They had 12 men on that defense, gifted the Broncos an extra chance at a field goal for the win. I love the Bills for that. I'm rooting hard for the Bills in playoffs as well. If they could screw around and win the Super Bowl after losing 4 straight in their past, I would love that. The Bills also beat the Dolphins after the Dolphins crushed the Broncos, so even more of a reason to root for the Bills. Also, the Bills signed Von Miller to a huge contract, former Bronco, which he really didn't work out for the Bills. That money probably could have been spent elsewhere, but still, kind of cool. Josh Allen also has led the league this season with touchdowns. He has scored 44 offensive touchdowns. If you score 44 offensive touchdowns for your offense, you are something else, man. And Josh Allen is special. What a hell of a quarterback. He's right up there with one of my favorite quarterbacks alongside Lamar Jackson. And maybe like Brock Purdy or something, man. Those guys are great. Like Josh Allen, crazy. Hopefully he could continue the hella scoring in the playoffs and lead the Bills to a win or two. And hopefully the Bills defense could hold up too. I like the 49ers also. They have a pretty good chance of winning. I think a lot of people are taking them over the Ravens. So that's cool. But man, the 49ers got so lucky. Like we all know Brock Purdy's story is wild, being the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, and now he's a superstar starting QB for the number 1 seed 49ers. Like it's crazy. What a hell of a story. You gotta love Brock Purdy. And yeah, the 49ers just got so lucky with that because they traded up to get Trey Lance, and he's no longer on the roster. He's actually on the Cowboys. Could you imagine if Dak Prescott were to get hurt or benched and you saw Trey Lance versus the 49ers in the playoffs? That would be wild. That'd be bonkers. A lot of people debate on if Brock Purdy is a really good quarterback or not, with how loaded the offense is and how good the coaching is. People kind of say he's like a system quarterback, and with sometimes how he played, he didn't really look like all that crazy. But I don't know, man. Brock Purdy is 100% the guy, to me at least. He runs that offense well, and he's only just been getting better and better. And I'm excited to see him actually healthy in the playoffs. It's going to be great. I'm excited for this 49ers team, actually. I'm excited for a lot of these NFL teams, to be honest. There's so many good teams. The only 2 teams I don't want to win, to be honest, are the Chiefs and Cowboys. I like all these other teams, but if the Cowboys and Chiefs get eliminated immediately, I'll be okay with that. But on the flip side, if it's a Cowboys versus Chiefs Super Bowl, I will be rooting for the Cowboys to beat the Chiefs, so there's that. But I'm definitely rooting for the 49ers over both those teams by far. I really like the 49ers. They're another good team for quarterbacks. They develop them kind of pretty well, or at least like know how to have them in the good system with good help around them. And just everything else I've talked about the 49ers, just all that and just so much more. The players, all that, everything about the 49ers. Love that team, great team. I still think I would take the Ravens over them though, unfortunately. The Rams are another cool team as well. Nobody expected them to be as good as they were. Like holy crap, 10-7 record for the Rams when they had a bunch of nobodies on that defense who turned into somebodies real quick. Like man. And then Puka Nacua just breaking out of nowhere. 5th round pick breaking the rookie reception record. Man, Puka Nacua just went off. That's so crazy that the Rams got that guy. And they got Cooper Kupp still. That freaking duo in the playoffs is going to be nasty. I don't think any of these teams want to go against the Rams in the playoffs. Because they could be a feisty team that might just screw around and win. Screw around and win. Because man, yeah, crazy team right here. Just the way that they got into the playoffs when nobody expected that at all. It's just too cool. If they win the Super Bowl, I would be so happy. I don't care. Let them win it again. Matthew Stafford is also another one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league too. Man, he just does not care. He slings that freaking football around. And like he has the nickname Stat Padford or whatever. It's kind of funny, kind of dumb, but I don't know if that's really right for him, dude. He slings it. He's a baller. If the Rams didn't have him at QB, I don't know where they'd be. Like, probably with Jared Goff still. I don't know. But man, maybe they'd be in the playoffs with Jared Goff. I don't know. That's a whole nother story. Lions did it, so I don't know. But I really like Matthew Stafford. I'm rooting for him all the time. So, go Rams. The Steelers, I'm actually just very surprised that they're even in the playoffs, to be honest. Like, their QB situation is crazy. Like, they got Kenny Pickett, right? He was starting. Mitch Trubisky was starting, and now Mason Rudolph is leading the Steelers in their first playoff game of the season. Like, what the heck? Just a weird rotation. Being able to make the playoffs and have a winning record is pretty crazy. Big shouts out to the Najee Harris, to the defense, and to Mike Tomlin making that happen. Because holy crap. How surprising. The Steelers could be a one-and-done team, or they could win a couple games. That's pretty much how all these teams are. There's no real one-and-done team that you could just easily pick out. Just like, like some seasons you could be like, oh yeah, they're done for sure. And then you get to that playoff game and they are done, like you called it. But no, with this one, it's like any team could win, it feels like. Maybe not the Steelers. The Steelers might have a slight disadvantage, but they could win. The Bills are beatable. They are definitely beatable. I think I will be rooting for the Bills over the Steelers, but hey, man, I wouldn't be mad if the Steelers won. I guess for the Steelers, George Pickens was also a huge help. Shout out to him as well in the catching game. He did pretty good catching them balls. He also had a hell of a highlight catch. So he's pretty good. Star receiver. They're pretty freaking good, the Steelers, at finding receivers. But man, George Pickens, he's been dogged on for not being able to block or for not blocking or wanting to block. So hopefully he could block in the playoffs or like block more, or hopefully he has been blocking. But that's definitely his weakness, so hopefully he could fix that. Huge credit to the Steelers, though. Getting into the freaking playoffs, that's great. Good job. Having a winning record. I don't think Mike Tomlin has like ever had a losing record. That's good. That's pretty wild. The Browns QB situation is even worse than the Steelers, honestly. They paid their starting quarterback huge money from the Texans to come in, put in work, but all he did was get hurt and look like crap. So they had to switch over to PJ Walker and Dorian Thompson Robinson, which neither of those guys really worked out, but kind of just carried the season a little bit, like kind of kept it alive for Joe freaking Flacco to come in and save the Browns. That's right. It's 2024 and Joe Flacco is leading the Cleveland Browns to a playoff game. How freaking wild is that? Is that not sound nuts? That's bonkers. That's nuts. If Joe Flacco and the Browns win the Super Bowl, which they very well could, that defense could carry them just like in Super Bowl 50 when the Broncos defense carried the offense. This Browns defense is good enough to carry the offense to the big freaking game and win that crap. So that'll be insane if that happens. But for now, Joe Flacco deserves all the naps on the sidelines that he wants. Give him those naps. Get him prepared for this game. He's a freaking legend. And I wouldn't mind seeing the Browns win the Super Bowl this year. After they made the trade with the Texans for that dumb QB, I didn't want them to win. But after he got hurt and Joe Flacco came in, now I want the Browns to win again. So that's kind of cool. That worked out well. I just really think the Browns defense is going to carry that offense like crazy. They're so good. The Eagles defense used to be really good as well, but they've been slipping. They've had a lot of injuries. They lost Shane Steichen, which didn't help at all. And they lost Javon Hargrave, which I think is a huge loss for that Eagles defense. Of course, they got a bunch of other talent like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, all them guys. But I think Javon Hargrave's still a huge loss. The Eagles have the Buccaneers in the first round of playoffs, and I think the Eagles are definitely favored to win that. But if they can't recover from their injuries, and from their woes on defense, and from their woes in the run game, then I don't know if they're going to be able to beat the Bucs. The Bucs could come out there and be looking dangerous and just win out of nowhere. Baker Mayfield could hit Mike Evans, Chris Godwin 1-2 over and over. If this Eagles defense can't stop Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans, game over for the Eagles. Game over. Who do you think has a better duo, the Buccaneers or Eagles at wide receiver? Because Buccaneers got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, which is a crazy duo. And then Eagles have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, which is also a crazy duo. But me personally, I think I would take Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. They're just two insane players. And Mike Evans will have 1,000 yards no matter who's throwing him the ball. That dude feasts just season after season. Just always all reliable, man. And then I just really like Chris Godwin. I freaking love Chris Godwin. I also really like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's probably one of my favorite receivers. I just think that's such a hard decision between those two duos. Two really good duos. Makes sense why these two teams are in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield got a lot of help from those guys. Jalen Hurts and Baker Mayfield both got really lucky having the guys that they have to throw the ball to. Some guys aren't as lucky as them two. Also, going into the playoffs, both Baker and Jalen are banged up. So they could have a slow game this game. And kind of have to rely on their other guys a little more. Either way though, I think the Eagles have to play their absolute best game of the season or they're going to mess around and lose, man. The Bucs, they could upset the Eagles. It's entirely possible. I still think the Eagles are going to win, but if they lose, I'm not going to be surprised. I am surprised, however, that the Buccaneers are in the playoffs. Did I already say that? I'm just that surprised. Did anybody think the Buccaneers are going to be in the playoffs? I was thinking the Saints were going to win the division, but that division's pretty weak. Bucks were able to come back out of nowhere and win it. I was wrong about the Saints. Holy crap. But good job, Bucks. I don't know how hard I'm rooting for them. I guess like if they win a couple games, I don't really care. I'm still rooting for like the Lions and Ravens and Dolphins and Bills and all that over them. So, it is what it is. Another team that was not expected to be in the playoffs as well is the Texans and CJ Stroud. Like he just came out of the draft and just started balling. This was his team from the jump and everybody knew he was the guy. He's just freaking crazy. And he has solid weapons to throw to as well. Nico Collins is a freaking beast, blowing up this season. And then they got Tank Dell as well, who's having a great year before he got hurt. That's a pretty solid duo as well. Probably not as good as the Eagles and Bucks duo, of course, but man, the Texans have some pretty good weapons. They also got Robert Woods in the mix. But, of course, most of their success has got to be because of CJ Stroud. He's making the Panthers look silly taking Bryce Young over CJ at this point. Because, man, CJ's looking 10 times better than Bryce. And they're always going to be compared to each other, which is kind of wild. I don't know if CJ would have been as successful if he was on the Panthers and if Bryce was on the Texans, how successful that would be. But, I mean, the Panthers have, like, no weapons. You got Adam Thielen and DJ Chark as your top two guys. So, yeah, it's not as good as a situation as the Texans is right now. So, CJ definitely went to the right place to succeed. And just the guys around him. Everybody just has a great organization, honestly. Doing it right ever since they got rid of everybody else. I am happy for the Texans. I'm happy they found their QB. I'm happy for how their season went. But if they lose to the Browns, I'm not going to be that heartbroken or anything. They're not my team. So it doesn't really matter to me in the end. As long as they play some good football and are prepared to build on this season, next season, and maybe even win the Super Bowl next season if they don't get it this season. We'll see how it goes. Hell of a season for the Texans, though. One team that I do want to lose more than any other team in the playoff is, of course, the Chiefs. I really hope they don't make it back to the Super Bowl. I am tired of seeing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. We need somebody else. And I just don't really like the Chiefs, to be frank. Obviously, I am a Broncos fan, so that has a big part to play in it. But man, I'm just tired of seeing the Chiefs do good. They just need to lose to the Dolphins and go home. Which, like I said earlier, I'm not sure is going to happen. I still think the Chiefs are going to beat the Dolphins. Unless Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are throwing fits on the sideline the whole game, they're going to win. Because when they throw fits and start crying and Travis throws his helmet, that's when everything starts falling apart for the Chiefs. They just need to keep their heads level, keep cool, and move on to the next play. Because you want to know what happens when Patrick and Travis just start blowing up and going crazy and acting a fool? They let the Raiders beat them without throwing a pass in the second half. You can't do that, Chiefs. You got to keep a level head, man. That's all it is. And then if they do that and catch the balls that are thrown to them, the Chiefs are dangerous. They are still very dangerous. The Chiefs could very well be back in the Super Bowl, which is kind of scary to say because I really don't want them back in there. Anybody but the Chiefs. I'll even take the Cowboys winning over than the Chiefs just being in there. Sorry, Chiefs fans. I'm just tired of seeing Travis Kelce throw his fits and his helmets over the dumbest things. He's rubbing off on Patrick. Patrick didn't used to blow up like that. Now he is too. Let's go, Dolphins. Beat the Chiefs. I actually do find it kind of nuts that the Cowboys are in the playoffs. They have been going off. Dak has been talked about being an MVP. CeeDee Lamb has had a hell of a season, which I really wish the Broncos would have drafted CeeDee Lamb over Jerry Jeudy, but it is what it is. Cowboys also have a scary freaking defense to go alongside their offense, with Micah Parsons, of course, leading it back there, DeMarcus Lawrence, DaRon Bland and his 5 pick sixes. Stephon Gilmore's back there holding it down. The injuries to the Cowboys didn't even matter with all these guys, man. Cowboys fans always be saying how this is their year, and this year actually very well could be the Cowboys' year. They are loaded and looks like they're ready to go, man. I don't really want to see the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, but if they did, I would just be as long as it wasn't the Chiefs. I'm going to guess a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl. I think that would be cool. And I wouldn't care who won that one, to be honest. I would root for the Ravens, but I would be happy for the Lions too if they won. So, all in all, I would like the final four teams to be the Ravens and the Lions in the Super Bowl. And I would like to have the Ravens probably beat the Bills to get there or the Dolphins. And then I'd like to have the Lions have to beat the Packers. I think that would be a great playoff game. And then of course the Lions got to get through the Rams, which I think is going to be another good game, which that's the team I would like to pick too. So my top 4, Ravens, Bills, Lions, Rams. I think that would be great. Actually, Lions, Packers. Ravens, Bills, Lions, Packers. That'd be a great top 4. And then you get Ravens and Lions in the Super Bowl. I think that'd be fun. Either way, though, no matter what happens, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a wild playoff year. And it's going to be a hell of a Super Bowl, I'm sure. We got a lot of great teams. And I am just excited to watch it. But anyway, I'm just going to head out. That's all I got for y'all. I really appreciate y'all clicking on the video. Stay tuned for more content. I'm going to be dropping as much football stuff as possible. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you liked it and enjoyed the video. And I will catch you next time. Let's hope the referees don't mess up the Super Bowl. Peace.